Okay, well, thank you very much, Louise. And also, being in Australia, it's 10 o'clock at night your time, so we appreciate that. Um, Appreciate that. And who else do we have? Alexandra coming in from Ukraine via Lithuania.
Hi everyone, glad to be here. It's really a wonderful time today to learn something new because we'll gather together to explore what it truly means to be a promise keeper in today's world. And also as a board member, I'm doing a YouTube channel for the Kectil program, and today's webinar also will be streaming on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. So please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and put like on today's live streaming, and also there you are able to find more videos that you can use for your development, for getting new skills, and even find a great mentor for you as well. So as participants in the Kectil program, you are part of a global movement that believes in the power of young leaders to inspire change. So let's come together today with open minds, ready to learn and take actions, because the future we are building depends on our dedication to this principle. So thank you very much, and I am looking forward for today's session as well, like you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, Alexandra is our Kectil influencer. She's she loves the social media, so she's out there. She started the Kectil YouTube channel, and we have, of course, Nabila, who is here, and we have a podcast channel. I hope that you're listening to our podcast. They are amazing. As I say, they're better than anything you can hear on BBC. Kectil has the highest level of content, and it's just really, really good, where you're hearing directly from youth in countries around the world about the kinds of things they're facing. So Nabila, over to you.
Regarding the introduction?
You've done an introduction, yes.
Yes,
yes, you did your introduction. Okay, so
yes,
we will do, who else? Let's see if I missed anyone here. Okay, I don't see anyone else here. Okay, should we get ready to start then? Okay, I think we've made all the introductions. Some people may be coming in a little bit later, but fine. Okay, so today we're going to talk about an extremely important subject to Kectil, and that is male as promise keepers. This is something that we started many years ago as a campaign. I started it, in 2017, we started focusing on how to help men be healthy, proactive leaders of society along with females. I think there's been so much misinformation. When you read the press, you know, you read things like female empowerment or male this or female that. We think all of that is wrong. We think what we need is gender balance. Those are the words that we use at Kectil, gender balance. We respect the males for the I'm not sure what that is. Can we, yeah, we can get that off. Okay. We accept the males for the wonderful contributions they make to society. Our males are genetically programmed to be protectors of society. They're the ones they have strength, they have physical strength, they have mental strength. And we want to encourage our male leaders to use that strength for good, to protect the females in their society. Sometimes what happens is we get extreme male toxic masculinity. And so, and then that results in harm to women. So we're trying to rebalance things. And then, of course, our women are wonderful assets in society. They're smart, they're brilliant. They are the mother of the next generation. They are responsible in part, along with the males, for teaching all the children. And they play an essential role, and they need to be protected. You know, I just looked up a number of statistics to start this program off. There are over 35% of females worldwide have experienced violence from a partner. 1/3 of all females in the world have experienced violence. That's completely unacceptable. In 2022, there were reported over 50,000 females killed by people they know in Africa, Asia, America, Europe, Oceania. We know that number is very low. That's not the right number. That's the reported number. The actual number is in the hundreds of thousands, maybe even higher than that, of women who are killed. And we call that femicide. And they're killed by violence by males who they know. They're either in their family, their friends, colleagues, and that's devastating, and it has to stop. We have what's called FGM, which is genital mutilation. Over 230 girls in 30 countries in Africa, Middle East, Asia, have to undergo this process sometime between birth and 15 years old. Well, they're still a child. And that's mutilation. That's surgical mutilation of a female, which should never happen. And we have this Male as Promise Keepers campaign to talk about that. And Ray, we have a couple of slides that I want to put up the slide first about the different kinds of harms to females which are caused by gender imbalance. Okay, here are examples of harm against females caused by gender imbalance, which currently results in, for example, beatings, rape, other physical violence against females, young unwed females bearing children, which is girls having children, femicide, female genital mutilation to prevent sexual activity, lack of physical or mental independence, mental health problems, including depression, suicidality, addiction, or self-harm, sexism in employment, lack of promotion, less pay, less respect, discrimination during schooling, isolation during times of the period, difficult harassment for sexual favors, and lack of control over her own life. These are some of the things that, that we have seen, experienced, observed happened to females around the world. And it's just devastating, and it has to stop. And Kectil wants to be part of the solution. But there's also harm against males. So let's look at the slide where we talk about the harm against males. So that's the other side, flip side of the coin of gender imbalance. And that's why we call it gender imbalance. So males from birth are taught the core tenets of toughness, power, and control at all cost, and they're taught to physically dominate females, including by beating them into submission if they have to. They're not allowed to show or express their emotions. They push their body to the limits to avoid any appearance of weakness, including by doing dangerous sports or other extreme physical activities. They're pushed to alcohol or drug use because that's what cool guys do. They're required to be against any trait that could be considered feminine because they don't ever want to be considered feminine and be joked at. They bully and fight others, either male or female, just to prove their self-worth and to show that, try to show their own self-esteem and their own value through power. They can demand unearned loyalty, respect, and obedience. They're sometimes forced to undergo tribal and cultural rituals to prove their manhood. And they also get mental health issues as a result of this. The mental health issues are including depression, suicidality, addiction, self-harm, if the male thinks he isn't male enough. And so what we see are two flip sides of the coin. We see men being forced into proving that they are tough, power, that they have the power and control at all costs. And that means power over females. And the result of that is females are getting violence against them, and it's severe violence. And then we've got, and we want to hear from everyone today. So we have some great speakers that from different countries around the world who are going to talk about the subject of what happens with violence against women, and also harm to males from this excessive toxic masculinity that's forced on them. And then because of that, they're forced to hurt women to show how powerful they are. So we think that that's terrible. Maybe we'll start today with Naomi from Papua New Guinea. Or do we have Zolani on now? Let me see. I've just heard that we've got.
Yeah, I am in attendance, yes.
Fantastic. Okay. We're going to start then with a very highly esteemed expert from South Africa who is joining us today. It is our great honor to introduce HRH Zolani Mkiva from South Africa. Zolani is a champion of rights in Africa as well as the world. Zolani has a long-term practice, and he's been the poet laureate in South Africa. He, as a child, as a young person, even younger than you probably, was introduced to Nelson Mandela and spent many years side by side with Nelson Mandela trying to improve the living situation in South Africa and the rights of basic South Africans. He also is an expert in tribal activities in South Africa, and is a speaker on many different issues in trying to promote healthy relationships. And also he works with nonprofits around the world. I was introduced to him actually by several different people saying, you have to meet Zolani. Zolani is the person who you need speaking with our youth in the Kectil program. And Zolani does not disappoint. He is a titan. He's an expert. He's top of his field. We're very honored to have him as a esteemed colleague at the Kectil program. Thank you, Zolani. Zolani, I believe is coming in from where? And you're not in Johannesburg, or are you in the village now?
I'm in the village, right in the east coast of the country, in the Indian Ocean side.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm in a better position than the other day from a point of view of the signal.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about the issues that we're addressing today, about male as promise keepers, about the violence you see against women, and how we can raise healthy females as well as healthy males.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you, Sherry Knowles, in your capacity as the leader of this formation, but also as the moderator of this session. And I want to express my sincere appreciation to your opening remarks, which were quite very profound in giving the context to the discussion of today. And I want to start off by saying that women have endured brutality for centuries and decades, over generations. And some of these are informed by the fact that society has this toxic framework which is anchored on patriarchy. And I think that if we start from that perspective, then it gives a proper direction of what we need to be discussing about and how we should be finding solutions to the challenge that is facing women. If I may make an example, during the time that we were in our struggle for the liberation in South Africa, we said women find themselves triple oppressed. the fact that other people are oppressed generally, but women are 3 times oppressed than any other citizen above the surface and below the sun. So that just gives you a tip of an iceberg. The difficulty, the repression, the suppression, and oppression that women have to go through because of patriarchy. Having said that, I think the issue of subjugating women into subjects and objects where they are objectified through cultural practices and different types of rituals, not only in Africa, but basically all over the world. I think in this day and age, in this century, we must do everything that we can to put that to a stop. We must be able to be bold enough and be upfront enough to say what the women of the world are experiencing is not only outdated, it's primitive, and we have to ensure that we emancipate women from this type of oppression. In order to give context and to give true meaning to what I'm talking about, I will be coming closer to home so that I can give proper examples to people on the lived experiences and the lived realities of women in the African society. But not to say that what is manifesting in the African society is only something that is only found in Africa. In actual fact, even the countries that are called first world countries do the same, which is done by the so-called third world countries. We still find a lot of femicide, brutality, and violence against women today. If you were to Google and look at the South African experience, you will find that we are amongst the best managed economies in the continent. We are probably the biggest economy in the African continent. In terms of development, South Africa is highlighted as a country with a rule of law, a country that has got the Bill of Rights, a country where in that Bill of Rights, we also mainstream the women's rights. But the big question which we're asking, why women in South Africa are still terrorized to the extent that on each and every hour, there is a woman who is raped in South Africa. Each and every day, there are 4 women that are killed in the country. Each and every week, there are hundreds of women that actually face violence against their spouses, their partners, but in some context, even their own relatives. So it shows that the problem is societal, is part of the social ills which flow from the structure of how the culture is actually positioned to relegate women to the background and reduce women into a mere object. So this reality which is found in South Africa also expresses itself in the East African countries, the West African countries, including Maghreb in the north part of Africa. You'll understand that Africa is one of the most diverse countries, diverse continents in the world. Our diversity speaks to the fact that we have got more than 1,000 different indigenous languages. But there is commonality in these societies of Africa. And that commonality, if you were to look into the negatives of those commonality, what is common is the oppression and the suppression of women. It is found in all of them. Not to say that in the African society, there are no good things and good stories to tell. There are commonalities which are positive and progressive. But as you know, any negativity that is happening against particular members of society, that negativity actually overweighs anything that is good. So I'm saying to you that today in Africa, do not be surprised that you still have female genital mutilation. And the psyche of that is that you also find women who are actually at the center of administering the actual implementation of that genital mutilation against their counterparts who are young women. So society and the societal stereotypes actually sometimes is enforced by women who become tools of this type of dehumanization of their own counterparts, because they think they act on the basis of goodness. There are other several customs and rituals which are practiced in our society, which put women in danger. One of those is early childhood marriages. They are problematic because they don't give young women a chance in society to enjoy their youth in fullest. They are forced and channeled by their families to get married as babies. What a baby can do when he arrives in a marriage before a child actually matures. That can never be considered as something that is linked to civilization or enlightenment. So these are some of the things that we need to reverse and change and transform our society and come up with a constructive social cohesion where we say we need to treat the boy child equally with the girl child. You can't disadvantage the girl child to a point that even family members, in their objectification of their children, they can sell off their child in what is called short-term marriages. I'll tell you about short-term marriages, Honorable Moderator. In the Maghreb area, which is the northern part of Africa, that part of Africa is predominantly Arab people, or let me say Muslim people who uphold a particular religion, because as I said, Africa is diverse. We've got Christians, we've got Muslims, but we also have people who uphold African spirituality, who still uphold, the original form of relating to God, if I may put it that way. We have experienced a situation of what is called the short-term marriages. As you know, in a Muslim religion, you can't have an intimate relationship with another person without being married. So for those who are already married, in order for them to be able to access young women from Africa, those that are part of the Middle East, they fly into the northern part of Africa, and then they, through what we call a middleman, they negotiate with the families of poor people there in those communities in order to have access to young girls between the ages of 14 and 18. Then they have negotiations, they pay the dowry to marry these girls, and they give specification to those that are middlemen that these girls have to be single, they must not have children, they must be virgins, a whole range of nonsense. And then they marry them. And they marry them for purposes of holidaying. So when they have a holiday for a 1 month, or it's a religious holiday where they leave their spaces and come to where they are not known, and they marry these girls for a period of a month or two. And remember, these are young children. And then these guys basically exploit these women and victimize them during that period. Of course, they pay huge sums of money to their families. So their families being poor, this amount of money does change the complexion and the livelihood of those families for the better, but at whose expense, at whose humanity? This is the big question that we ask, because in some cases, this oppression which manifests against women, it happens because of material conditions. Can we really sell our souls as human beings just to ensure that the rest are comfortable at the expense of others? What makes a difference between that type of practice to slavery? It doesn't make a difference. It's the same mentality. You oppress people in order to improve your own life, but it means you are enjoying life at the smell of human blood. So it can't be accepted. So I think society must be very aggressive in terms of dealing with this issue. And we have to be fearless And we have to be objective and say enough is enough. No woman in this day and age must go through this. It is totally unacceptable. And there are several things that influence and propagate the sustainability of this negativity. The narrative, which is also seen in the public broadcasting space, as well as the social media space, these narratives are actually entrenched by what we always publish there, formally and informally. The institutionalization of patriarchy in film, in drama series, in what is called soapies, and so on and so forth. It actually, by Lilliputians, and by those that will come and try to bring evil in order to stop your good mission. This is a very good initiative, and it is good so much so that it needs to be sold throughout, and the communities must own it, and it must find expression in the bylaws from a local level of the municipality to the state level, to the national level, into the international arena. And what we must do, we must even have films which are positive, that actually project femicide in what it should be projected as such, as an evil, So we must have films that exposes these cultural practices that are evil against women. And I think if we find that support from all those that are peace-loving people of humanity, then it is something that we must call for us to hold hands together. And we must come out of here and make a clarion call that points in that direction. I'm so happy that I'm given this opportunity, coming from the margins of the rural communities of South Africa, that I put a case. I know that I represent culture, but I think culture is dynamic. Culture should be about the positive values of humanity. There is no culture that must promote negativity. No culture can be called culture if it promotes the oppression of one human being by the other, regardless of the gender. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful deliberation and discussion. And may we come out of this session with very concrete, progressive, and constructive resolutions for the total emancipation of the women of our countries. Gone are the days when we call the women are the flowers of the nation, but we treat them differently. If they are truly flowers of the nation, we should treat them as such. Thank you very much.
Wow. Well, thank you, Zolani, for those amazing comments. You are a gift to the Kectil program. The spirituality or something, some power has brought you to the Kectil program to help be our leader in this initiative and in other initiatives. We can't thank you enough for your wonderful words, for your ability to speak. We now know why you were speaking right along with Nelson Mandela about all of these issues, about freedom and about how society should act in a proper way. So thank you so much. Please stick with us, be our leader, tell us what you're doing, and let us learn from all the things that you've done and teach us what we can be doing. So thank you so much for your esteemed wisdom. Wow. So we just experienced an example of extreme toxic masculinity. And that was probably the most vivid expression we could get of what we're fighting against. We've never been hacked before. We've never had that happen before. I apologize on behalf of the Kectil program for everyone who is on this webinar today. But it's an example of how sensitive these issues are, and that's what HRH Zolani was talking about. The issue of the male-female relationship hits at the core. We've had webinars since 2017, but we've never been hacked like that. And the reason why is because when we talk about toxic masculinity, when we talk about protecting females, we're talking about the female right to live a full life, to be educated, to not to be raped, not to have violence against them, not to have a child marriage, not to have a child outside marriage, not to be subjected to FGM. That's a sensitive issue. And then we get, idiots like that who are on the other side. So it just shows that we're talking about something very raw, very honest, and something that the Kectil has to be in front of and be a leader for. So thank you, Zolani. So we want to, I think we'll turn to Naomi now. Tell us what's happening in Papua New Guinea about the male-female relationship and the current state of violence against women in Oceania.
Thank you, Ms. Sherry, and thank you also to Zolani for sharing. So let me start by saying that in many Papua New Guinean societies, the concept of males as promise keepers often implies a very strong cultural or traditional expectation for men, because we Papua New Guineans, we are very closely tied to our cultural and traditional practices. So this notion is deeply rooted to our traditional values as well. So men are often seen as protectors and providers, but in Papua New Guinea, men are often seen as superior, not because of their masculine features or anything, but because of how our societies have conditioned us to think, where men are supposed to lead, men are supposed to make decisions, men are supposed to participate in political endeavors. And this throughout the years has led to a lot of issues that arise from these decisions, this participation that directly affect our women in societies. So there are a good number of issues that are affecting women, especially in Papua New Guinea. So I'm just going to list a few of them. So the first one is gender-based violence, and I think this one is not only affecting women in Papua New Guinea, but in many other developing states as well. So many women in Papua New Guinea experience high rates of domestic violence, sexual assault, and other forms of gender-based violence. In previous years, we've had a lot of stories, news breaking out about young women who have been killed by their intimate partners. And a lot of times we think that this issue is affecting just women, but it is also affecting men in our societies as well. But because women often stand up and report these cases, so it comes out as, women being the ones that are heavily affected. Another issue that women face in Papua New Guinea is education barriers. And this also, I think, is an issue that many other developing countries face as well. So access to education remains a significant challenge for women, particularly in rural areas in Papua New Guinea. And Papua New Guinea has majority of its population located in the most rural areas. So socioeconomic factors, early marriages, and cultural practices or traditional practices often hinder young girls from completing their education. Another issue which was also stressed by Zolani is health issues, where women face significant health challenges, including maternal health risks and limited access to reproductive health services. And with the current trend that's going on with young girls getting pregnant, increased in teenage pregnancies when women give birth at a young age without proper medical care. And this is usually prevalent in many rural parts of Papua New Guinea. And this has led up to contribute to the increased mortality rate in Papua New Guinea, making it one of the highest in the Pacific region and in Oceania as well. The final and most discussed issue in Papua New Guinea is females' underrepresentation in political participation or political decision-making processes. So young women or women in general have limited access or limited opportunities when it comes to representation in political and decision-making spaces. And again, this goes back to how we as Papua New Guineans are influenced by our traditional and cultural practices that often limit women from participating in such spaces, such as societal norms and lack of support from partners that restrict women's voices and women's participation. And all of this can go back to what I just mentioned about traditional and cultural practices, because we hold dear to our heart our traditional and cultural practices. And with majority of our population in the most rural areas of Papua New Guinea, where we don't have Western influence, we don't have religious interventions. This is why we still practice our traditional and cultural practices, which leads to more women's rights being limited. So we have customs that are practiced in our traditional societies like bride price and arranged marriages, which still contribute to how men can lead and restrict personal freedom and autonomy for women. So before I conclude or end my discussion, I would also like to share about a very important and significant issue in Papua New Guinea, disproportionately affecting women. And this is the social-related accusation violence, which is a form of violence that is still and again influenced by our traditional and cultural practices. And it's deeply rooted in surrounding the areas of sorcery and witchcraft. And this issue, even though it affects both men and women, it mostly affects the female population because they are vulnerable to it and they're not able to stand up and speak about their views. They're not able to share about what they think they should be able to access as individuals in their communities. So there are like a good number of issues that again relate to the sorcery-related accusation violence, and I'm just gonna go through a few of them here. So the first one is violence in general. So women who are often accused of sorcery, particularly in the context of unexplained illness and deaths within a society, they often experience violence by their closest family members, their brothers, their sisters, their fathers, their mothers, and they experience very severe violence, assaults, murder, and even deaths. A few years ago, we had three or five women who were burnt alive because of this in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. But they were banned because they were only accused of sorcery-related accusation violence. And this is how serious this issue is in Papua New Guinea. So another related issue would be its influence on health and well-being, women's health and well-being. So because women fear for their safety, they often fear to seek medical assistance. So when they experience accusations in relation to sorcery or witchcraftancy, they fear for their lives and they do not go to the hospitals or public places where they know their safety is at risk. And this often leads to an increased leading to untreated health issues and worsening of their overall health and well-being. And finally, the lack of legal protection in Papua New Guinea. So the legal system in Papua New Guinea often fails to protect women from sorcery-related violence, not only because most of the cases go unreported, but because we do not have proof to actually address the issue, because you cannot come to someone in the legal space and tell them that this woman killed this woman's husband without proving that this woman actually killed this other woman's husband. You need proof to be assisted or to be provided legal protection. And in the case of sorcery-related accusation violence, we cannot do that. We cannot provide proof. So most women that are accused of sorcery-related accusation activities do not get legal support. So the whole idea of males as promise keepers is surrounded in the scenario of when a man gets a female pregnant, he should be able to take responsibility and accountability and should be able to stick around and support the female. But in the context of Papua New Guinea, and I believe in many other developing countries, there are other issues, there are other discussions that are just as important. So let me conclude by saying that men are the leaders. They have been given the authority to lead and guide the smallest unit within our society, which is our family. So if they're able to take responsibility, take accountability, and take their rightful place and use their voice to speak not only for females, but for themselves as well and their children, we can be able to build a better family, which can lead up to having a better society, a better community, a better province, and a better country as a whole. Thank you, Ms. Sherry.
Yes, thank you, Naomi, for that wonderful and terrifying description of what's going on in Papua New Guinea. You know, we recently had a conference in Papua New Guinea, and I was supposed to be in Papua New Guinea, but for mechanical failure of the airplane in Singapore. But I was given a lot of instruction before I went to Papua New Guinea, which I was really opened my eyes to the violence, the level of violence in that island and country, as well as perhaps other islands in Oceania. I know that you have a curfew, a standing curfew. Everyone is supposed to be off the streets at a certain point because of the potential for male violence. When I was planning to be there, the organizers on the ground in Papua New Guinea arranged for a security team to surround me at all times when I was in Papua New Guinea. First, because I stand out, because I look like I'm a Westerner, but also because I was a female. And there was an entire group of security guards who were there, who had been put in place to help me. And I wasn't supposed to go outside the hotel without being surrounded by security guards, or even outside my hotel room without being surrounded by security guards. And that is the heightened level of violence that we see in Papua New Guinea. You know, I've traveled a lot throughout the world. I've never been to a country where I've been told, don't leave your hotel room or don't leave your hotel without being surrounded by a security system. And that's because of the level of male violence that's occurring now in Papua New Guinea. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And it's wonderful that we have youth leaders like you and others who are on the phone today, Remina, also Edwin, who are standing up and becoming leaders in Papua New Guinea for a better future and actually talking about these things. And these things are so sensitive. As you talked about the sorcery, you talk about witchcraft, and you say there's no evidence you can use against sorcery because, you know, it basically doesn't exist, and therefore you can't get evidence against it, right? You know, how do you fight that? But it's customs that have been held to the core by males, and the males in Papua New Guinea have been taught from being a young child to then become not only powerful, but to control women at all costs, including beating them up. You know, I heard tragic stories about females in Papua New Guinea who are married, and if they, you know, when their husband comes home, if their children are just dirty or have dirty clothes on, that's enough to get beaten up. You know, you can, or if they don't like what's served for dinner, or if they think the house is a little bit dirty, that's absolutely appropriate to beat the woman because you're trying to, in quote, teach the woman, you know, how to do the right things. That's shocking. That is shocking. And I'm so glad that Kectil is standing up to take a position on this. We hope that this becomes a tidal wave throughout the whole world. But Papua New Guinea is a, you know, real tragic example of extreme toxic masculinity, which is coming in from tribal culture, as you said, coming in from the northern cultures, but is very prevalent there. And it's something that I experienced firsthand in our preparations for the conference there. And I can't tell you how many times I was told, do not leave my hotel room and do not leave the hotel without at least 3 security guards, which tells you what's going on. Okay, thank you very much. So I think we'll turn over to Nabila right now, who's going to talk to us about the situation in Pakistan, and in particular, the villages of Pakistan.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sherry. And first of all, I'm really honored to be participating in this very wonderful webinar. And I warmly welcome to all my male fellows, because I believe women have every time privilege, but this time I believe I warmly welcome male fellows because they have this courage and they are well aware today they have been attending this webinar. So congratulations being responsible men of the society. So in terms of Pakistan, I will start my opinions and I will start sharing the situation of women in Pakistan by quoting one of the statement by the founder of Pakistan, that is Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the great feminist himself. And he says that no nation can stand its worth and its existence in this world without taking the women along with men into politics and other social and political, economics and others, issues. So from here, we believe that how much it is important to equally participate women into different affairs of the world. In Pakistan, because Pakistan is demographically is a very variable and diverse country, it has 2 major population categories, urban population and the rural population. And majority, like 60% of the population of Pakistan usually lives in rural areas. And 31% of the population is comprising of women out of 50% population of the women itself. So these 2 categories, these 2 groups of women have different problems in Pakistan. For example, in urban areas, women have some kind of modern problems. They have some problems at workplaces, harassment, some modern other problems like online harassment as well, pay issues. So these are like some of the modern issues which women are facing in urban area. But in rural areas, we are still on the basic level because these are the group of women. Number one, they are not educated. Education literacy rate is very, very low, and they are not educated. Even they are sending their first generation in schools in this century, like in the current 2024 year. So these women have been facing very variable issues. For instance, we start from domestic violence. That is one of the common type of women's issue in rural areas. So out of 10, like 6 out of 10 houses have been facing domestic violence frequently. And number 2, that is one of the prevailing issues in every villages of Pakistan, that is honor killing. Killing of women on the name of honor and culture, which is of course is another debate that sometimes culture, religion, and are taken as stereotypes, and they are used in a wrong way, and they are stigmatized to women only. Because I believe when it comes to character and values belongs to men and women equally as a human, and they both are responsible to playing their positive character values in the environment, in the society. So it should not be stigmatized with women only. And that is why honor killing has taken its birth from this stigma, from this stereotype. And this is happening like even nearby my houses. I frequently hear and witness some of the stories that XYZ woman, even a married woman of 6 children, maybe 3 children, 5 children, has been killed publicly because in the name of honor, in the name of respect, in the name of culture. And of course that is wrong. And such incidents even does not have any evaluation, does not have any legal processes, because mostly in villages such kind of issues are being resolved under the elder persons or maybe the head of the village, and taking money maybe, and they resolve and they reconciliate, even without taking the consent of the victim. So that is how these sensitive and severe things are being sorted out behind the curtain of the scene. And of course, this is where we can say that even reporting of these sensitive issues is a very difficult thing. So you can imagine that how many women have been killed because of this, severe issues, and because of not reporting these issues, and even not, reporting this to nearby police stations. So you can imagine that uh, how much, strict environment they are living in. And the third one is early marriages, and Lani has also mentioned that early marriages in some of the part of India is very, common and prevailing. Also in rural areas, in villages, especially in Pakistan, still even in this 2024, early marriages are very common, and think of it like, responsibility. Once again, they take it as a culture. They just stigmatize it like the girl has entered her puberty age, maybe, and they believe that it is our responsibility out of culture, out of respect, that she should be married, even without her consent as well. And we have been hearing like a lot of, common, frequent stories. It is not a hidden thing. But again, like when it comes to law and legality, the process is very slow because the things are not being reported. Like we are on the very basic thing. Even these things are not being reported. Maybe once it is reported, so let us see whether the legal actions are being taken or not. So that is another side. That is another talk of the table. So and also, I would say that when we start such kind of conversation, like today we are in a meeting room, I believe it is a very healthy and productive meeting room. And we are not anti-men, first of all. Like if we are talking about women's rights and we are raising awareness of women's and girls around the world, we are not anti-men. Rather, we're warmly inviting men to be educated, to be part of these discussions, because it is very important. I'm just, moving to the solutions, like what can be the solutions to mitigate such kind of severe issues in terms of women's facing around the world, not only in Pakistan. So first and foremost thing is that we should remain positive that these kind of campaigns are not at all anti-men. Rather, these are inclusive, talks and discussions. We believe in an equitable environment where we want both men and women should be treated in a rightful way, in a mannerful way, mannerful way. And there should be no discrimination when it comes to treating a human being. There is no man and woman; it is the human being on at the end. And secondly, I believe the education starts from the early stage, because I'm an educationist as well. As I mentioned, I work in a school. We also teach pre school students as well, like age from 4.5 years onward, like 7, 8 years. What I have observed, like I can put one of the quick example. There are two siblings. One is male and the other is female. They are like in the same age. They are around 6.5 years, and her brother is not willing to come to school because he says it is an embarrassment that I'm taking my sister to school with me, so she should remain at home, she should stay at home. So I was like very very shocked when I heard these kind of statements and comments coming from a very little young child, 6.5 years. So I just talked to that child, and I just tried to speak with him that from where you have just learned this thing. And just he just told me that one of my uncles treat their daughters like this way, even they do not go to schools, and that is why I believe my sister should not join school and I should be joining the school only. So that is why, as an educationist, I believe the education and awareness starts from very early age, where we have to teach male child, and we have to, take his upbringing in a very mannerful way. His upbringing is very important in this society. And once again, the consequences are like, maybe sometimes it is a karma of woman's upbringing as well. Sorry to say, because at the end it is a woman who is upbringing these child, either male or female. So I think the teaching from mother is also important, because she is also a woman. If she is a victimized in the past, for instance, if she wants to change something, so she has child as an asset, so she can start change from there, and she can teach them, and she can uproot them in a very mannerful way. So we can bring change from there, from the lab, from the start, from the early age. And in rural and remote areas, that is also a problem because women are not educated, number one, and they are not financially independent. So they cannot take their decisions independently. So they are, relying on men. So in return, man is the male guardian. So he's deciding the complete, affairs of the house, inside and outside. So I believe like raising your son is very important then, because in the next level, he would be the guardian of the home in few next years. So if you are raising him adequately, mannerfully, so he will realize that women and girls have some other basic necessities as well. Instead of just honor, just culture, naming her in the name of honor, culture, respect, she has some other basic necessities as well. For example, her education, her food necessities, her health necessities, how she should be treated, how she should have all these facilities inside home, outside home, and she should be equally participating into the home decisions as well. It is important. Once you are taking any decision of your home, for example, so both the male and female should be equally participating in this kind of discussions. So I think we can start from our home. We can start the change from our home. And such kind of webinars is also a very good and productive way, peacefully, discussing things from both of the sides, because we are not talking from one side only, we are talking from both of the sides. And we respect that male are the protector and guardian of, most of the women, and they are the strength of the community as well. And also because they have different roles in the society, women have different roles in the society, we don't claim any kind of equal rights sometimes, because equitable treatment is very fair, because both of these gender have very complex and different roles in the society. What a mother plays a role, a man cannot play sometimes. So what a man play roles in the society, sometimes mother mother cannot play that role. So it is a vice versa. But at the end, we want to set good examples at our homes. So raising your children is very important. So try to speak with them, have a good conversation with them. Try to speak with them that what is bothering, what is their mental, situation at the moment. Because communication is an art, and especially communicating with men is an art. So we have to learn that art, and we should be very, respectful towards as them. At the end, we will have good results, because I have seen change in my 4 to 5 years. At the first stage, I was like very anxious, I was angry, I was, burning out of anger. But I just stick to my patience level, and I teach myself that communicating with such kind of men is important. So we have to play this art very, smartly and very strategically, because at the end, we cannot fight with the culture, because this can mess up everything in the end. So fighting with the culture is not a solution, but staying within your culture and trying to amplify some of the little changes from early stage is very important. And at the end, you will see a change. Thank you.
No, thank you, Nabila. So well said. And thank you for everything you do in the villages of Pakistan to make a difference. I think your comments that these issues really start in the home is so true. It begins with the parents, doesn't it? It begins with the differential treatment of males versus females, and small children growing up, not just by what they're taught, but by what they see. And so each one of you can, when you're raising your families, when you're working in your homes, when you're dealing with your relatives, you're in your community, that's where it starts. It has to start at the grassroots level, and then grow from there. And this passing down from father to son of extreme toxic masculinity is just shameful. It's shameful, and it affects, as you said, it affects the daughters, it affects the females who sometimes would be embarrassed to go to school. And I hear some similarities between what's happening in the villages in Pakistan with what's happening in Afghanistan, where the females have no rights whatsoever. They have to ask to leave the home. They have no control over their physical bodies. They have no control over what they do. They can no longer go to school. They cannot be educated. And that has to change. But how does it change? And in that case, you've got an extreme, you have a very strong group there in the Taliban that's trying to hold down religious mores, and that's a very complicated, very, very complicated situation. If anyone wants to talk about what's going on in their country, you can certainly raise your hand. We can take some comments or questions. I see Guguni is on the phone on this call. Guguni, would you like to, yes, I knew you would, want to say something about what's happening in Kenya? I'd also like to know if you can address at all what recently happened in Uganda with the death of the Olympic athlete, the female Olympic athlete who was killed by her husband or boyfriend. So you can tell us what's happening in Kibera is where all of this started for me, and the male is Promise Keepers, but love to know what's going on in Kenya. And if you can address the situation in Uganda, that would be great.
Great. Thank you so much, Sherry, for organizing this, listening very keenly to the conversations so far, enriching, talking of issues of health, talking of issues of physical violence, issues at the workplace. In Kenya, there has been a lot of advocacy going on regarding standing up for women and against specifically violence and death. As you may know that in Kenya, we've had a lot of conversations in the public domain regarding the issues of femicide. And recently a police report came, which was very shocking reports. About the past 3 months, we've had 97 women. This basically, 97 women being killed. This basically means that almost every day we have a woman dying. And one, it's important that these cases are brought out in public for people to get to know about them, but that's not enough. We want to see that the police are able to investigate and hold into account the people who are being killed. In Kenya, the scenario that has happened recently and even in the public domain has been majorly through online dating sites and online dating apps. Women have ended up being killed. They meet up with a man on an online dating site, and then when they meet up for some reason, they disagree, and women have ended up being killed in hotel rooms or in restaurants. Other situations have been even among students where they're being invited and they travel over a distance to go and meet with a stranger whom they've met from an online site, and then they end up being killed. Then the conversation have always been tried to be skewed and misinformation that you cannot meet strangers, you cannot be meeting people who you don't know. The truth is that you have to be very careful about the people you know, but we cannot justify killings based on meeting up with strangers. Otherwise, we will live in a society where we are not allowed to meet freely with anyone who would like to meet and connect with. So these are issues that have been arising in the Kenyan front about what decisions females make on who they meet and under what circumstances they should meet them. And the conversation has been misinforming in the sense that are not talking about what laws should protect people when they are meeting under such kind of circumstances as it is. When it comes to the issue of early teenage pregnancies, this is happening majorly in slums. Like Sherry has mentioned, Kibera is just one of the big slums in the country. There is Mathare, which is also another slum area in the urban Nairobi settlement, and also in the rural parts of Kenya where poverty is high. And what happens is that girls who are vulnerable and they don't have access to particular personal effects, or they don't have access to school, or they don't have access to food or to shoes or clothing, they are lured by men who would like to take advantage of them, and they offer them these items either in exchange for sex, and they take advantage of them. They get them pregnant. Some take them as second or third wives when they are very young, and this causes them to lose their lives, essentially, like Sherry puts it, because they are unable to continue with making other important decisions in their lives. They are unable to go back to school when they are married off, or when they get pregnant, or sometimes some of them get infected, and they are unable to continue basically with making important life decisions in the future as they grow up into becoming adults. That are happening within the Kenyan setting, and within settings where poverty is rampant. So we see poverty being a main driver to some of these issues that are rising, violence against women. And like the campaign talks about, men have got this very strong instinct of protection to women. And if we can rally more men to come out and protect young girls, not only within their circle, but also within the communities where they live in, and influence other men. It's not enough for a man by themselves to protect the men around them, but also to influence others and talk this message to other young men around them, so that they can protect the young girls and female within their society from violence, from early marriage, and from being taken advantage of. And even in these social media, social dating platforms, from men who take advantage of women who they meet in these social media platforms, and take advantage of them in ways that are unlawful and unacceptable. I'm not able to make my comments about what's going on in Uganda because I'm not privy to that particular information. So I'll have to stop at that point. Thank you so much, Sharon. Back to you.
Yes, thank you, Guguni. And as we know, this whole campaign started by my visit to Kibera in Nairobi, and seeing what was happening to the young girls there, and how they had no hope whatsoever for any kind of a successful future, because I guess free education ends at maybe 12 or 13. And then after that, if the parents don't have the money to pay, then the girls don't go to school. And then if they don't go to school, there's sometimes trouble that arises from that. But thank you so much for being a great advocate for us in Kenya. So just in terms of what we're going to do next, we want Azim to be able to make some comments. If there's anyone else who would like to describe the situation in their country, we'd love to hear from Afghanistan. We'd love to hear from Nigeria. We do have representatives. If there are any other countries who would like to speak, let me know. I would like to put the Male as Promise Keepers pledge up, and maybe we can even do that now before we hear from Azim, because I want to make sure that the most number of people see that. This is a campaign that we put on our public website. It's at www.kectil.com, and it is a pledge that we ask males to take, not females. We've had females come in and make the pledge. Females cannot make the pledge. It's a male pledge. Okay. Females can get online and say, we agree with this program, but this is a pledge for males to take. And we want males to encourage other males to take the pledge. And can you, yeah. Okay. This is the pledge. Okay. And I agree that we wanted to make it broader than it was before. So this is a revised pledge that we're going to be putting online. Last pledge that we had only dealt with males getting young girls pregnant and then not taking care of the female or the child. But we're expanding that to violence against females. So this is the new Male as Promise Keepers pledge. It's going to be up online. I think it's online today. And so we want to encourage you to have males in your community stand up and make this pledge. Okay. And we'll read it out. If you, as a male, so this is not a pledge for women to make, please. This is a pledge for males to make. If you, as a male, see a female who you find attractive or even seems inviting, you must ask yourself this very important question. If I am with this female and she gets pregnant, would I be willing to be a promise keeper and take care of the female and the baby with a full commitment? If the answer is no, then I commit to put my hands in my pocket and walk away. That's the first part. The second part, further, as a male, I pledge to do my best to use my natural given genetic instincts. That's very important because we want to build up men. We're not trying to take men down. Men are essential protectors of society, and we want them to use that protective instinct for good. So we say, use my natural given genetic instincts as a protector to help protect the females in my society from harm caused by toxic extreme masculinity, so that our females can reach their full potential physically and intellectually. Also important, because we want to point out the educational aspect, to contribute to a healthy family and a healthy community. I agree not to hit or physically attack a female. I agree to keep my eyes open as a protector to identify situations in which a female is at risk, and will try to take reasonable steps to help if possible. I encourage other males to take the Kectil Promise Leader Pledge. And so that is the new revised pledge. You're going to see that online. We've already had the first bullet point was the original pledge, and we had several thousand males around the world take that pledge. But we want to increase that. We had the 1,000 Males campaign, but we actually had several thousand males come in, step up, and take the pledge, which we were so proud of. And can you go back to the pledge, please? And so if we, this is the goal of this call and the campaign, and we're going to keep it up for a whole year. We want as many males as possible to make that pledge. And of course, we want the females, when the males take that pledge, we want the females to encourage and praise the men for taking this pledge and standing up and being the wonderful protectors of society that we know that they are. Because we're not looking just at female empowerment. We think that's unbalanced. We're not just looking at males. We're looking at gender balance. And I think gender balance is a term that hasn't been used much out in the literature or online, but that's what Kectil wants. Kectil wants gender balance, where each of the males and the females bring the best to bear to the relationship, to the community, and to the country, because they each have essential gifts that they need to contribute to society. Okay, so look for this. Please, if you're on this, go to www.kectil.com, make your pledge, encourage all your friends and all your male friends to make the pledge also. So we'll go to Azim next, and then we're going to go to Edward, and then I think Tamana said she wanted to speak from Afghanistan. So Azim, please give us short comments. We have heard from Nabila from Pakistan, but we want to hear from you, and we especially want to hear from you as a father of 2 young females in Pakistan. So you are a father. What are you doing to train your females to grow up as healthy in this kind of environment that exists in Pakistan?
Yes, thank you, Sherry. Basically, I must say, before the mistreat to the woman, the man should understand he is the son of the woman, he is the brother of the woman, and he is the father of the woman. So when the person is mistreat the woman, he must know all these facts about the son, about the father, and about the brother. So in Pakistan, Nabila well said and well portrayed about the rural areas of the Pakistan. But I want to describe the issues in the urban areas. In Pakistan, a woman play an essential role in society, contributing to family, economy, and social development. However, there are still deeply rooted cultural and societal challenges and affect the way women are treated in many areas of life. There are major challenges women face, like gender-based violence, limited access to education, like in rural areas, and the economic opportunities, healthcare, and the reproductive rights. One of big issue is workplace challenges for women. In Pakistan, especially industries like textiles and other local workplaces, women on the labor scale face unique challenges. Despite their significant contributions, they often encounter issues that undermine their safety and dignity. One of the most serious challenges is sexual harassment, which includes unwanted advances and pressure from male colleagues for sexual relationships. This creates an unsafe and uncomfortable environment for women, preventing them from focusing on their work and achieving their full potential. So what could be the impact of harassment on women's life, on women's personal life? When women face harassment, it impacts on the mental health, self-esteem, and productivity. This kind of behavior also discourages many women from entering or remaining in the workplace, affecting the growth and diversity of these industries, and also women's life and their families. Now, now the question is, and that is the main objective of our This Males as Promise Keeper campaign. What should be the role of men? Men in these workplaces have a crucial role as allies, not only in treating their female colleagues with respect, but also in intervening when they witness harassment. This can build a culture of accountability and respect, essential for any productive workplaces. And I'm totally agree with the Nabila that this is also the responsibility of the parents, of the son, of the boys, of the men. When they are upbringing them, they must ensure and they must put in their minds the respect of the woman, the dignity of the woman, and the way the men should treat the woman. This is also the similar responsibility of the father and of the mother. If I take myself as an example, we are three brothers. We don't have a sister. The way our parents upbringed us, it's a marvelous. My mother was a government school teacher, and I used to went the school with her till my 5th grade, and that was the girls' school. My mother gave me one thing: you are going with me. These all are these all girls are respectable for you. You must respect them. And my father also said me, these are the girls, these are the society, and you have to look at them, and you have to treat them very respectfully. So this is what it should be come from your home. So when the father and the mother and your parents are bring you the men and prepare him for the future, then definitely men will be a truly male as a promise keepers and a leaders. Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, thank you. That's wonderful. You are a great example of how mothers raise their sons correctly. And then look how that trickled down. And now you have two daughters and you're able to raise them correctly and as strong females in Pakistan. So what a great role model. Thank you so much, Azim, for everything you do.
Thank you.
Okay, Edward, please, from Armenia.
Yes, thank you very much. It was really interesting to listen to the different perspectives, and I can find many of them in Armenia too. So I wanted to engage also and speak on Armenian perspective. So I think the role of the women is going up in conflicted societies as well. During the 2020 war, most of my generation went to the war, and many of them didn't come back. And this naturally promoted the role of women. So my generation, people born from 2000 to 2002, are now primarily women. We can find very few guys in my generation, and this promotes the role of the women naturally. Now women are the ones taking leadership in many positions from our generation, and this was promoted on the national level as well. After the war, I remember we had the UN Security Council Resolution 1325, if I'm not mistaken, Women, Peace and Security implemented in Armenia during the parliament agenda that gave the possibility for women to get the military preparation as men. So this promoted the role of the women in Armenia naturally, and women now have the right to go and prepare for the army as guys do. It's mandatory military service in Armenia, and every guy who turns to 18 has to go to army and prepare for protecting the country for 2 years. So there are women who voluntarily decided to join the team. So this is an example of great leadership, which was promoted naturally. Secondly, I want to emphasize the role of women in national parliament. I would say like 5 years ago, we didn't have much women in the parliament. And if we had, they were like just quotas standing there showing other countries who were sending the development aid to Armenia that we have women in the parliament. But today it changed. And it changed after the war as well. We have the women in the parliament not only as a quotas demanded by the acquis of the European Union or US aid, but it is mostly the role of the women. Most of the women started speaking during parliament meetings and having their say in especially the security issues, which is highly important because many of that women were the mothers and wives of the people who died in the war. So this is how war promoted the women's role in Armenia. As well as I would like to mention the domestic violence, which was a casual case in Armenia. Traditionally, which I can relate to many speakers that spoke. So traditionally in Armenia, women don't have that much role in family. That is the man who says everything, and it was like that before. So later on, women kind of stood up. It was mostly because they have women role models. In Armenia, we got several women who started fighting for their rights, and they became the women who played the role for other women. They became the role models, and women kind of realized that they are allowed and they are capable of fighting for their rights. So it started that way, and I think, as Nabila and Azim said, that it's highly important for the family, how you are prepared in the family, how your parents taught you how to refer to women. I think it started happening the other way around in Armenia. Like women and the men in families, the children started teaching their parents that mother has also the say in the family. It started happening the other way around as the daughters went to school and participated in a couple of projects, understanding they have the right to speak, and they came back home and they said that father is not the only one in the family to make decisions. Mother should also participate. It happened the other way around, which is really interesting to follow. So from the Armenian perspective, this is it, and it's really highly important for me that you chose this topic to discuss. And thank you very much for providing this many perspectives.
Well, thank you for your comments and for your insight to what's going on in Armenia. It is, we have so many countries involved in Kectil who are at war, and they're losing their wonderful males in the war. We have the Ukrainian problem. We have the problem in the Middle East. We have, my goodness, in Burma, where Ray is from, in Armenia with Azerbaijan, and we have so many. We even saw this type of phenomena actually in the United States during World War II. In World War II, many of the men from within a certain age group went to either Europe or went to Asia, Japan, Pacific, during World War II. And the women took over a lot of the jobs. They were making the equipment, they were making the clothes, they were running everything, because the men were not there, they were at war. And the women were running everything. And then as soon as the war was over, then they went back, I guess, to their more traditional roles, but not as traditional as you see in certain countries. But we experienced that also, and we see the big loss of lives in some of these countries, in Sudan, and in many countries around the world. But your comments really emphasize the effect of either civil war or war between countries on the effect. And we see that in Palestine also. There's been a massive amount of death in Palestine, and it's just terrible. So thank you for your comments. Is there anyone who would like to speak from Afghanistan, from Nigeria? Okay, we have Moses here from Nigeria. Wonderful.
Sherry, we have Tamana Kazimi as well that you say.
Okay, Tamana. Okay, we'll hear from Tamana from Afghanistan, and then we're going to hear from Moses from Nigeria. Thank you for volunteering. Okay, Tamana, over to you from Afghanistan.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm truly excited to join this important webinar. I just want to share some of my own experiences. Before Islamic Republic of Afghanistan collapsed on 15 August 2021, my father was working with World Bank, focusing on a project by the name of Rural Women Economic Development and Empowerment under the Ministry of Women Affairs. He, from his experiences, he often told me two important things. First, if we had more promising men in Afghanistan advocating for women's empowerment, women wouldn't have to fight so hard for basic rights like education, work. And second, he believed that if we financially could empower women, there will be less violence against them. These lessons have profoundly shaped my understanding of gender dynamic in traditional societies like Afghanistan. Growing up in Afghanistan, I have witnessed firsthand the skepticism of surrounding women's abilities. And you know that in Afghanistan here, we have a lot of challenges regarding women's issue. But what I have realized is this, that men have a significant role to play in changing this narrative in the societies like Afghanistan. The woman empowerment is not only a woman issue. If we consider it as a societal necessity, if more men commit to being a promising advocate for women's empowerment, we can pave the way for a future where women can thrive without having to fight for their basic rights. It's I could see that in my country now, that we are just restricted from education, and it's only considered as a women fight. And if we had men also, then maybe it was much more easier for us. And finally, I just want to say what Kofi Annan said. Gender equality is more than a goal itself. It's a precondition for meeting the challenge of reducing poverty, promoting sustainable development, and building good governance. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tamana. Very, very well said. It's just devastating to see the loss of rights of women in Afghanistan, the inability to leave their house, their inability to have basic freedoms without asking a male to leave their house or to go do things, the taking away of the right to education, the taking away of the right to support themselves through a job. You know, if you can't support yourself, if you have no money, then of course you have no power and you're completely dependent on someone. And that's fine as long as the person that you're dependent on is a very good person. But if the person you're dependent on has the kinds of issues that we've talked about today, that's a very damaging, very dangerous situation. You know, our heart goes out to all the females in Afghanistan, as well as the females in Papua New Guinea for the extreme issues that they're facing, as well as around Africa. You know, we've heard, you know, very moving comments from HRH Saloni about what's happening in Africa. So let's hear from Moses on what's going on in Nigeria.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Good to see you, Moses.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Good afternoon from Nigeria. And when I heard about the lot of things is happening in Nigeria and most African countries. Now, first off, we are finding it very difficult to allow women to participate in leadership positions in Nigeria. And it's a very big problem because we know that women are mothers. They play mother's role in the society. So most of this corruption that is going on in the country is basically because there's no woman there to help and play a mother's role to it. And sometimes it was kind of advocated for, but it was later swept under the carpet because I think those that are on top didn't want it to see the light of the day. So it's a very big problem because we have less of women participating in leadership. And where did it start from? It actually started from family. Because if you go to family, maybe some of the families that are already kind of, maybe let's say second class family, they are trying to grow the male first. They will try to train the male folks in the university and upper school before they will talk about the ladies. Now, most times the ladies go into marriage without being educated. You see a girl of 18, 20 going into marriage. She doesn't know anything. Now, whatever she's told in that marriage, that's what she does. She don't have a say. And that's a very big problem. Now, we are even talking about it because of the part that I am in the southeast and then the southern part of Nigeria. If you go to the northern part, because of Sharia law and Muslim, sometimes you see someone that is 12 years old getting married, and you ask, what does this person know about marriage? It's a very big problem because it starts from that grassroots. If the grassroots is not well nurtured, then there's nothing that you have at the top. It's a very big problem. So Nigeria is not exempted. We are facing a lot, and it is some ladies are already standing up against it. Although some are standing up against it negatively, because some feminism in the extreme part of it, to the level that they can kill, they can fight a man, they can do anything. Society has cost. The society cost it. So it's because some of these and getting it known to the people that are supposed to know about it, it will be helpful in bringing up the society we all dream for. And we pray that something good comes out of it, because families need to really do a lot of work. It's family is very important. If family didn't get it right, it will be very hard for the society to get it right. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Moses. Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Okay, we're coming to the end of the program. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get some final remarks from our esteemed guest, HRH Saloni, and then I would like to put the pledge back up, and maybe even while Zolani is speaking, we can have the pledge up. The pledge is open to either Kectil colleagues or the public. It's on the www.kectil.com website. So males can go and make the pledge. Please have, if you're a male and you're listening and you're ready to make the pledge, please do. If you're a female, please talk to the pledge, about the pledge, to males that you're aware of. This is a way to start the conversation. You know, part of what we're doing is starting conversations. You can discuss this in your family, with your friends, with your colleagues, at your school. Get people to be aware of it, and you can tell them it's the Kectil Pledge. And then it gives you a way to talk about the issues that are facing males and females, and how we can get to a really beautiful arrangement of gender balance, where both males and females bring the best to bear to the relationship. You know, we love the protective instinct of males. We want that protection. We love the nurturing instinct of females, and that's really important. But we want both of those to be used in a productive, healthy way. And we need to train our children. It starts in the family. You can tell from the really shocking hack that we had today. We opened this up to live streaming on our Facebook, and our Facebook apparently attracted males who were not very interested in being a male as promise keeper, and wanted to disrupt even the discussion. So think about that. Think how sensitive this is. This went to the core of people's view of themselves and view of society. And they were so concerned about this that they wanted to come in and hack it. And so that shows that we're talking about something really important, very sensitive. And whenever you get in that situation, I say, push it as hard as you can, because we've reached a sensitivity point and we need to make a difference. So I'm going to turn it over to Zolani. Thank you for sticking with us the whole time, and please give us some closing remarks and your wisdom.
You are muted. We can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Yes.
Am I fine now?
Yes.
Fine. Yep.
Yes.
No, thank you very much, Sherry. And let me be amongst those that raises their right hand and make this pledge to say that as men, we should stand up front and upright and be the protectors of our society and give the security to our women, starting from their tenure security in our society to the security and protection that they should enjoy from the family level, the level of their nations, and the level of humanity at large. If we truly acknowledge that we are all born from women, we have to appreciate enough to know that we have a duty and responsibility to protect our siblings who are our sisters, to protect our mothers, protect our great-grandmothers, and ensure that without women in this world, we are nothing. The families are actually what they are because of the management and leadership of women. It is women who teach children to speak. It is women who rear and bear children from a young age, and they take them through until they become teenagers and adults, that they can stand on their own. It does not make no sense that when we become adults who are conscious, then we turn against our own women and female in society and belittle them and demean them into a state of nothingness. So we call upon all and sundry to be reasonable, to ensure that they employ a consciousness that is objective, to say we must honor our women with everything that we have and ensure that they enjoy life as part and parcel of humanity. I thank you, and I look forward to the progression of what we have stated. I know that there is this formal pledge which is already flighted here. Perhaps let's give that to somebody else to read it. But on my side, I fully concur with the contents entailed into this particular pledge. I will sign spiritually for now, but at an appropriate time, I will appendage my signature into a document that will be veiled into my desk. Thank you very much to the Kectil family. Thank you very much to the Nose Foundation for your leadership. We really love this and we'll support it with every inch of energy that we have. Thank you so much, Sherry, for your leadership.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, HRH Saloni. We are just, we are so thrilled that you are part of the Kectil program. We're blessed by your interest, your excitement, your enthusiasm to help youth all over the world. I think this is infectious. And the fact that you are willing, as a very important, strong leader in South Africa, who's been a member of the parliament, who worked with Nelson Mandela for 14 years, who's been a leader of tribal society in South Africa, willing to stand up and take the pledge. You're leading all men around the world with your actions, and we thank you so much. So we're going to close it out now. We've had a wonderful discussion, very important. The pledge is on www.kectil.com. Let's push this. Let's try and just break the numbers and come up with thousands of males all over the world who are willing to take the pledge. And as I said, use this as a basis for discussion. And let's see what we can do. We're going to keep up this campaign for a year. And we hope by next year that we're going to have thousands of males all over the world who have become promise keepers. And I couldn't think of any better contribution that Kectil could make to the world than this pledge. And so thank you, Zolani, for your true leadership in helping us achieve that goal. So we thank you very much. Stay tuned for more. And thank you for all of our wonderful speakers today. Thank you for taking part. More on this. It doesn't end from here. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.